Chakra Natures. So, here's the thing. Minato didn't go around throwing giant fire dragons or lightning tigers like some flashy Jonin, but according to the Fourth Databook, he had full control over fire, wind, and lightning release, plus Yin and Yang chakra. Now, the funny part? We never really see him using these elemental jutsu. It's like giving someone the keys to a Ferrari and they choose to ride a bike instead. But here's why. Minato's style is all about speed and precision. Jutsu that need hand signs take too long. He's not waiting around mid-battle whispering, Katon, Goukakyuu no Jutsu, while the enemy is swinging a blade at his head. That's not his vibe. Instead, he focuses on techniques like Flying Thunder God and Rasengan, moves that are fast, efficient, and brutal. He uses chakra natures more like a toolkit than a weapon rack. Yin and Yang chakra, though, those come in clutch when he's working with sealing jutsu. Think 4 symbols, seal, 8 trigrams, reaper, death seal, those insanely complex fuinjutsu that need top-tier chakra control and the right energy type to even function. If Minato wanted to, he could probably roast, slice, or shock someone to death with elemental jutsu. But that's not how he plays the game. He's the kind of ninja who shows up, finishes the fight before you blink, and leaves without a scratch. Flashy elements? That's for people with time. Minato doesn't have time. He is time. Superior speed. Let's talk about Minato's signature flex, his speed. And no, I'm not just talking about teleporting. I mean raw, natural, outrun your own thoughts kind of speed. Minato's called the yellow flash of the leaf for a reason. Even without using Flying Thunder God, his speed is insane. This man body flickered across the battlefield faster than any other Hokage, arriving before Hashirama or Tobirama. And they weren't exactly slow, okay? Tobirama literally invented the Flying Thunder God technique, and even he admitted Minato's body flicker was superior. Remember when Minato saved baby Naruto from Obito mid-explosion? He didn't teleport, he ran. And Obito didn't even realize it until Naruto was already safe. That's not speed. That's teleportation level speed without the actual teleporting. And in the Third Great Ninja War, he dodged A's full-speed punch. He reacted, threw a kunai during the attack, teleported twice, sliced off a tentacle, and marked it for later. All that in less than a second. Meanwhile, B and A were still trying to figure out if he even moved. Even Obito's Kamui couldn't save him. Minato is the only person in the series to beat Kamui with pure reaction time. Not genjutsu, not teamwork, just raw speed. That's how next level we're talking. Now, the only real drawback here is that Minato's physical speed is still, well, human. If he's injured or mentally shaken, like when he found out Obito was behind the Nine Tails attack, his reactions can slow down. That's how Tobirama had to save him from a truth-seeking orb, even though he's usually the faster one. Flying Thunder God. Now we get to Minato's crown jewel, Flying Thunder God. Let me be real, this jutsu is illegal in some fan circles. This technique lets Minato teleport to any place he's marked with his seal. Could be a kunai, a tree, your forehead. If the mark's there, Minato's already behind you. Literally. He's not limited by time, distance, or line of sight. He could be on the moon, and if his mark is in your sock drawer, boom, he's there. Even better, the seal doesn't wear off. Once he places it, it's permanent. Which is terrifying if you think about it. He uses Flying Thunder God not only to dodge and teleport, but to warp attacks. Remember when Kurama fired a full-sized Biju bomb? Minato opened a barrier and sent it somewhere else. Not blocked, not absorbed, just teleported away. He did the same with a 10 Tails Biju bomb later. Most people need a team of Jonin to pull that off. Minato soloed it with flair. And then there's that move. You know the one. Spiraling Flash Super Round Dance. Howl Style Stage 3. Yeah, that's a real name. Minato probably spent more time naming it than using it. But when he did, absolute destruction. He threw a bunch of kunai, cloned himself, and teleported in a rotating storm of death so fast it looked like lightning. One moment, there's an enemy platoon. But like any technique, Flying Thunder God has limits. It needs setup. He has to place the seal first. If the enemy wipes it, like Obito once did, he can't teleport there anymore. And yeah, it burns chakra. Minato's chakra control is god tier, so he spams it easily. But average ninja, they'd faint after one jump. Still, it's no exaggeration to say Flying Thunder God made Minato into a one-man army. Even other villages literally issued a do not engage order when he was spotted. And if that's not legendary, I don't know what is. Rasengan. Now let's get into Minato's signature invention. Rasengan. No hand signs, no flashy fireballs, just a spinning orb of pure chakra that breaks bones, walls, and egos. Minato created the Rasengan after observing the Biju bomb. Think about that for a second. He watched Kurama fire a tailed beast nuke and said, "Yeah, I can make a smaller handheld version of that." That's insane confidence. The core idea is simple. Minato compresses and rotates chakra in his palm until it reaches critical mass. There's no elemental nature, no chakra transformation. It's raw, focused energy, and it hits hard. That's also why it's so hard to master. You're basically trying to tame a tiny chakra hurricane in your hand. What makes this even crazier is that Minato mastered it. In the one-shot manga, we see him use Rasengan to overpower a full-power Biju bomb from Kurama. Not just half of it, the whole fox. And by the way, he did that while bleeding out from being impaled by Kushina. That's the ninja equivalent of lifting a car off someone with one arm, while the other arm is broken. Later, when revived in the war, Minato combines Rasengan with Kurama's chakra and makes what I like to call the Mega Turbo Super Dad Rasengan. That thing is huge. Naruto literally co-synchronized with him to hit Obito with it. And the sound effect? Boom. That's all you need to know. Rasengan needs precise chakra control. If your chakra wobbles even a little, the whole thing collapses. And since it's a close-range technique, you have to actually get to your target. Not ideal if your enemy has a sword, a spear, or, a giant eyeball that warps reality. Also, it doesn't have elemental flexibility like fire release or lightning release. No long range, no AoE, no bonus effects. It's a punch made of chakra. But when Minato throws that punch, even tailed beasts get nervous. 4 symbols, seal, and 8 trigram seal. Let's shift from raw power to terrifying genius, sealing techniques. And no, we're not talking about duct tape. This is high-level Fuin Jutsu, chakra-based magic that rewrites reality. And Minato was a master at it. During the Nine Tails attack, Minato knew he didn't have time to win the fight. So instead, he chose to end it. He used the 4 symbol seal and the 8 trigram seal together to lock half of Kurama's chakra inside Naruto. Now, the 4 symbols. Seal alone is powerful. It clamps down on chakra like a vault door. But Minato took it further. He stacked it with the 8 trigram seal, which adds a clever twist. It lets a little of that chakra leak out over time. That way, Naruto could gradually sync with Kurama and build strength. Oh, and he didn't stop there. He also programmed the seal with a backup failsafe. If Naruto ever lost control, Minato's chakra would trigger inside him and help restore balance. Which it did. During Naruto's fight with Pain, Minato's ghost literally showed up, smoothed things over, and sealed Kurama back in. Father of the Year, anyone? This combo seal was strategic. It protected the village, guided Naruto's growth, and even embedded messages from both parents. Sealing Jutsu with dialogue trees. That's next-level parenting. The downside? It takes insane precision, chakra control, and prep time. You can't throw this seal out mid-fight unless you've got at least 1 foot in the afterlife. Also, it only worked because Minato tied it to a Reaper Death seal, meaning, well, he had to die. Not the ideal move in a friendly spar. Reaper Death Seal. Now we've reached Minato's ultimate card, the one he saved for when there were no more moves left. The Reaper Death Seal. aka, I win, but also, I die. This forbidden jutsu summons the literal Shinigami, the god of death. You offer your soul, and in return, it seals away whatever target you're holding. It's not elegant, it's not flashy, it's brutal, it's final. Minato used this technique in the darkest moment of his life. The Nine Tails was rampaging. Kushina was dying. Obito had torn the village apart. With no other choice, Minato sealed half of Kurama into Naruto and the other half into himself, using the Reaper Death Seal. He was bleeding, exhausted, already dying. But he still had enough chakra and clarity to cast the most dangerous jutsu in the book and succeed. Now, what makes this seal especially terrifying is its permanence. Once used, your soul gets trapped in the Reaper's belly forever. Not even Edo Tensei can undo it unless someone forcibly rips it open like Orochimaru later did. So when Minato used it, he wasn't buying time. He was sacrificing everything. But because of that sacrifice, the village survived. Naruto survived. And Kurama's power was split in a way that eventually led to Naruto becoming one of the strongest ninja ever. Contract Seal. Okay, imagine this. Someone has full control over a giant monster, like a literal walking natural disaster, and walk up, tap them, and boop, the connection's gone. That's what the contract seal does. This is one of Minato's most underrated techniques, and yet it's absolutely terrifying. With a single touch, he can sever the bond between a ninja and their summoned beast. That includes tailed beasts like Kurama. No talk, no jutsu, no genjutsu tricks. A clean, instant severance. He used this during the Nine Tails attack, when Obito tried to use Kurama to nuke Konoha into the Stone Age. Minato teleported in, placed his hand on Obito, and broke the summoning link. Kurama went from rampaging Murder Fox to confused but slightly calmer Murder Fox in 2 seconds flat. What makes this jutsu so insane is that it doesn't require prep time. There's no hand seal checklist. No 10-step ritual. Minato gets close enough to touch the target, which, okay, yeah, is kind of risky when your opponent is a teleporting maniac with intangibility powers. The weakness here is obvious. Range. You have to physically reach the person who's controlling the summon. And if that person is someone like Obito with reflexes, speed, and Kamui, well, good luck. Summoning technique. Next up, Minato's favorite amphibious sidekick, Gamabunta. Yep, our calm, grumpy, pipe-smoking toad boss from Mount Myoboko. And when this toad shows up, things get serious. Minato made a contract with the toads of Mount Myoboko. He could summon Gamabunta in the middle of battle, even while bleeding, tired, and under pressure. That's how much chakra control this man had. During the Nine Tails incident, Minato summoned Gamabunta right on top of Kurama. Not beside him, on top of him. That's like summoning a truck to land on a rampaging bull. Bunta held Kurama down while Minato teleported both of them to Naruto's location for the sealing. It was a perfect combo of strength and strategy. And let's not forget, Gamabunta got a sword. He's got attitude, and he's willing to help when it really matters. Summoning Bunta takes a lot of chakra. We're talking multiple gallons of high-quality ninja juice. It's not something you do for fun unless you want to pass out right after. Also, while Gamabunta's strong, he's not exactly built for high-speed chases or stealth missions. He's a tank, not a jet. Nine Tails Chakra Mode. Alright, now let's talk about the Golden Armor of Gods, Nine Tails Chakra Mode, or KCM for short. When Minato got revived during the Fourth Great Ninja War, he was brought back with his brains and teleportation skills. He also came with a little gift, the yin half of Kurama sealed inside him. That meant Minato could access KCM, and boy, did he glow. KCM wraps the user in a fiery golden chakra cloak. It enhances everything: speed, power, durability, and even chakra sensing. Basically, it's like slapping a NOS engine onto a sports car that was already breaking speed limits. Minato used KCM to turbocharge his Rasengan, making that Turbo Dad Rasengan we mentioned earlier. He even synced up with Naruto for double Rasengan tag team attacks against Obito. If father-son bonding had a power scale, this would be S++ tier. Plus, he could transfer Kurama's chakra to others, helping the entire allied shinobi forces power up. That's leadership right there. Not just flexing your power, but sharing it to lift everyone. Now, here's the catch. Unlike Naruto, Minato wasn't fully compatible with Kurama. He never had time to train with the fox or bond like Naruto did. So while he could use KCM, he couldn't master it. And during the war, when he realized Obito was behind everything, Minato had a full-on emotional crash. His hesitation caused slip-ups in his control. That golden glow doesn't mean much if your mind isn't focused. Also, KCM was only available after death, because that's when Minato had Kurama sealed inside him. So while it looked cool and packed a punch, it wasn't something he ever used in life. Sage Mode. Yes, Minato does have Sage Mode. Yes, it's perfect. No, he barely ever used it. Minato learned Sage Mode at Mount Myoboku, the same legendary place where Jiraiya trained, and Naruto became a frog slap god. But unlike Jiraiya, whose Sage Mode turned him into a half-toad cosplay, Minato's transformation was flawless. Orange pigmentation around the eyes. No warts, no webbed fingers. Just pure clean chakra drip. So why don't we see him use it more often? Simple. It's not fast enough. To activate Sage Mode, you have to absorb natural energy, balance it with your own chakra, and stay perfectly still while doing it. That's not ideal when you're the fastest shinobi alive and your whole combat style is based on movement. Minato even admitted he wasn't good at keeping it going for long. He could activate it, yes, but not maintain it during intense battle. When he did use it, like during the Fourth Great Ninja War, it boosted his already terrifying speed and gave him crazy sensory perception. Basically, imagine Minato, but now with 360-degree awareness and frog-fueled power upgrades. It's like strapping rockets onto a jet. But because of the charging time and Minato's own preference for quick engagements, Sage Mode never became a core part of his arsenal. A shame, really. Frog Dad Mode had potential. Chakra Sensing. Minato's got another trick up his sleeve that most fans overlook: chakra sensing. And trust me, this isn't just, I feel a disturbance in the force stuff. This is elite level detection. He can sense chakra signatures from huge distances, whether someone is sneaking up in a misty forest or launching a sneak attack across the battlefield. Minato can detect it before they even finish their hand sign. It's how he kept tabs on Obito, sensed Kurama's rampage, and reacted faster than anyone else during full-scale battles. This ability shines even brighter when paired with Flying Thunder God. It's one thing to teleport to a marked spot. It's another thing entirely to sense where the danger is before teleporting, then strike before the enemy blinks. Chakra sensing won't tell you what the enemy is planning. You know someone's there, but not if they're holding a Rasengan or preparing to read your browser history. It also depends on Minato's own experience and mental state. If he's distracted or emotionally unstable, like during the Obito reveal, his reactions can slow down a bit. Intelligence and tactical genius. Here's where Minato stops being scary and becomes terrifying: his brain. He's the genius, highest test scores in Chunin exam history. Created Rasengan, refined Flying Thunder God. Predicted enemy moves in real time, and somehow did it all while being polite, calm, and clean-cut. Basically, your mom's ideal son-in-law who also casually defeats 1,000 ninja. He broke down Obito's Kamui after watching it twice. Figured out the timing, countered the intangibility, and marked him mid-phase. Kakashi and Naruto were still trying to understand how Kamui worked. Minato was already winning. He laid out the seal system that guided Naruto's growth for years. He coordinated with Toads, planned a contingency with Kushina's chakra, and later teamed up with Kakashi, Guy, and Lee to take on Madara's insane god-tier powers. The guy thinks 10 steps ahead, even from the grave. His tactics rely heavily on emotional control. When Minato found out Obito was the masked man, he froze. The shock messed with his focus. His battle instincts dipped. And against guys like Madara, hesitation is death. Physical strength and reflexes. Okay, speed aside, Minato's raw reflexes and strength are ridiculous, like borderline unfair. We all know he's the fastest guy around, but his reflexes are what turn him from fast guy to untouchable nightmare. Raikage's full-speed lariat, dodged. 8 Tails tentacle strike, countered with a kunai mid-swing. Truth-seeking orbs flying toward him, he cut them off without blinking. And don't forget, he does all this while tossing around triple-bladed kunai and executing split-second teleports like a pro gamer with 0 ping. His physical strength also gets overlooked. This isn't Might Guy level muscle, but Minato can still tank hits, push back massive beasts, and fight effectively while wounded. Even after being impaled by Kurama, he still pulled off a sealing jutsu, moved Naruto to safety, and talked calmly like he was mildly inconvenienced. But let's be real, 99% of shinobi never even get close to touching him. If you find yourself face to face with Minato in a fistfight, the fight's already over. You don't know it yet. Let's talk about a man who once said his destiny was to die a glorious death, then actually made sure it happened. Jiraiya of the legendary Sannin. He earned his title during the chaos of the Second Shinobi World War. When most people were trying not to die, Jiraiya was out there flexing on Hanzo the Salamander. Jiraiya, alongside Tsunade and Orochimaru, managed to survive that encounter. And Hanzo was so impressed, he gave them their title right there on the battlefield. The Sannin of Konoha. He was known as the Toad Sage for a reason. The man had range, ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu defense, sealing jutsu, and even espionage. His chakra was massive, and his brain even bigger when it came to gathering intelligence and cracking mysteries. And let's not forget what made him a true legend, his students. He trained Minato, who became the 4th Hokage, then Naruto, the future savior of the ninja world. And way before that, he guided the Ami orphans, including Nagato, the kid he thought was destined to bring peace. That prophecy from the great Toad Sage, Jiraiya took it to heart, and he dedicated his life to preparing the next generation to break the cycle of hate, even if it meant breaking himself in the process. Chakra. Now, if there's one thing Jiraiya never lacked, it's chakra. The man had reserves so ridiculous, he could casually summon Gamma Bunta, the same giant toad that other Jonin struggled to call, like it was no big deal. And keep in mind, this wasn't some flashy entrance. He'd summon Bunta and enter Sage Mode in the same fight. That's like driving a tank while juggling flaming swords. You try it. Let's start with Chakra Nature Mastery. Jiraiya didn't just dabble. He mastered all the basics: fire, earth, water, and wind. But wait, there's more. He also had control over Yin and Yang release, which are foundational for high-level chakra manipulation. Very few ninja in the entire series are confirmed to have all 6. It shows how broad his training was. Jiraiya could control his chakra so well that he pulled off dual Rasengan in both hands, a feat most shinobi wouldn't even attempt with one. And in his final moments, even with his body shattered, he carved an entire message into Fukasaku's back using his chakra. Not a pen, not ink, chakra, and while under constant disruption. That's some next-level mastery. Jiraiya was built like a boulder and hit like a battering ram. Remember when Naruto got a little too rowdy during training? Jiraiya flicked him across a field with one finger. He was shown lifting giant rocks, kicking around multi-headed summons like they were oversized beach balls, and tanking blows from enemies that would drop most cage-level shinobi. This man went toe-to-toe with Might Guy, and survived one of his kicks without needing immediate surgery. He survived Tsunade's punches. You know, the ones that create craters. And when Naruto lost control in Four Tails mode, turning into a literal chakra nuke with claws, Jiraiya lived to tell the tale. Well, barely, but still. And despite all that punishment, he only came close to dying twice. Once from Naruto's Berserk mode, and the other time, facing the 6 paths of pain. And even then, he didn't just give up. With one arm missing, his throat crushed, and death practically standing behind him doing warm-ups, Jiraiya forced his own heart to beat again, just so he could write one last message that would save the entire Hidden Leaf. Summoning techniques. Alright, now we're entering Jiraiya's true comfort zone, Toad Summoning. This is what earned him the title of Gamma Sennin, or the Toad Sage. Jiraiya had a summoning contract with the mystical toads of Mount Myoboku, and he summoned them with more ease than most ninja perform basic clones. These weren't just oversized frogs hopping around. These were battlefield veterans, trained in both taijutsu and chakra-based combat. Let's start with the big boy himself, Gamabunta. This dude was a 30-meter tall toad, carried a massive tanto on his back, and could launch waves of oil that ignited into walls of fire. Jiraiya summoned Gamabunta during his battle against Orochimaru, while drugged, mind you, and still held the line. It was a classic example of size, power, and sass rolled into one smoking pipe. Then we've got Gamaken, the shield-wielding samurai toad. Less cocky than Bunta, but extremely reliable in defense. Jiraiya summoned him during the fight with Pain, and the guy held off an army of monstrous summons. Quiet, focused, a professional toad. And don't forget Gamariki. He might not be as famous, but this fabulous rainbow-eyed toad played a key role in helping Naruto train against Genjutsu. His role might have been short, but he served it with flair, fishnets, and more attitude than half the Akatsuki. But the real stars of the Toad roster, Fukasaku and Shima, the elder sages of Mount Myoboku. Jiraiya didn't just summon them for tea. He fused with them in battle, letting them gather natural energy while he fought. That combo gave him access to Sage Mode, an absolute game changer. These two also brought their own jutsu to the party. Shima could breathe fire, Fukasaku could launch water bullets, and together, they could paralyze enemies with sonic genjutsu. More on that later. Toad Mouth Bind. You know what's more terrifying than getting crushed by a giant toad? Getting eaten by one, slowly, while the walls start digesting you. That's Toad Mouth Bind, or Kuchiyose, Gamaguchi Shibari, Jiraiya's weirdest and creepiest jutsu. This move summons the inside of a giant toad's stomach, specifically from one that lives inside a sacred mountain cave. Imagine fighting in a hallway when suddenly the walls start pulsing and the floor turns into a wet, sticky membrane. That's what Itachi and Kisame experienced when Jiraiya tried to trap them in this technique. And here's the thing, it almost worked. Even Itachi with his god-tier Sharingan had to burn Amaterasu to escape. Think about that. One of the most feared shinobi alive chose to use his ultimate jutsu just to get out of Jiraiya's trap. Bring down the house jutsu. Most shinobi summon weapons. Jiraiya, he summoned the roof. This technique, Kuchiyose, Yatai Kuzushi no Jutsu, is exactly what it sounds like. You summon a toad and drop it directly onto your enemies. Simple, brutal, effective. This is how you weaponize mass. Gamahiro, one of the larger toads, made an appearance during the Konoha Crush arc, crushing giant snakes like they were garden worms. If Gamabunta is the swordsman, Gamahiro is the battering ram. This move turned summoning into aerial warfare. No chakra blasts, no fancy seals. Just gravity, velocity, and a giant amphibian flattening your problems. Turning into a frog technique. You've heard of mind games. Jiraiya went a step further. He literally turned people into frogs. Turning into a frog technique, or Kawazu Kaeru no Jutsu, is one of Jiraiya's more low-key jutsu, but weirdly useful. He used it on Udachi and Aimonin during his infiltration of a Megakure. With a single touch, the guy went from rebellious shinobi to confused amphibian. Why? So he could interrogate him more easily. Try lying when you've got webbed hands and can't form proper words. Plus, I doubt Udachi had a how to resist interrogation when you're a frog manual. Rasengan. Let's talk about Jiraiya's signature technique. Or, well, the technique his student made iconic. That's right, the Rasengan. Now, Jiraiya didn't invent the Rasengan. That was Minato. But Jiraiya was the one who mastered it and passed it down to Naruto. He could form the Rasengan using both hands in perfect control, shaping that swirling chakra like a literal blender of doom. It's raw chakra, compressed and rotated at high speed, no hand signs required. Perfect for someone like Jiraiya, who preferred punching problems before overthinking them. What makes it so deadly is its internal damage. It doesn't just hit you, it shreds you from the inside. And Jiraiya could whip this thing out mid-battle like it was a basic combo. But of course, big power needs bigger explosions, so enter the Big Ball Rasengan. This was the upgraded version, used mostly in Sage Mode, or when Jiraiya wanted to flatten someone with a chakra cannonball. Imagine the original Rasengan, now supersized like a chakra basketball on steroids. It required even greater control and chakra, but Jiraiya's reserves made it feel effortless. Still not enough? Fine, let's go Ultra Big Ball Rasengan. This was Jiraiya's nuclear option, a Rasengan so massive it looked like a mini-tailed beast bomb. He used it in Sage mode during his final battle with Pain. The sheer scale of the technique made it more than just flashy. It was a full-on battlefield weapon. Elemental Ninjutsu. Now, Jiraiya wasn't just about raw chakra balls. He had serious command over elemental ninjutsu, especially fire and earth, and he loved combining those with his toad allies. Let's start with the flashiest, Toad Oil Flame Bullet, Katon, Goukakyuu Endon. This was a combo move where Jiraiya spits oil and sets it ablaze with a fire stream. Or he'd let Gamabunta spit the oil and he'd light it up, like the world's most dangerous barbecue. It's what they used against Manda during the Sannin Showdown. A firestorm fueled by flammable oil? That's overkill in the best way. Next, we've got the Flame Bullet, Katon, Endon. This was Jiraiya's standard fireball, a quick, concentrated burst of flame. Think of it as his go-to fire attack when he didn't have a giant toad backup singer. It's proof that Jiraiya could go from flashy to efficient in a split second. And then there's the giant flame bullet, Katon Dai Endon. As the name suggests, it's the flame bullet, but bigger, hotter, and way more dramatic. Great for roasting enemies or making an entrance. But Jiraiya didn't stop at fire. He had some serious earth release tricks too, most notably the Swamp of the Underworld, Daten, Yomi Numa. This jutsu lets him create a massive swamp underneath his enemies, swallowing them up in thick, sticky mud. It's perfect for immobilizing summons, slowing down targets, or just being the most annoying ninja on the battlefield. He used it to trap Orochimaru's massive snake, and let me tell you, if it can sink that thing, it can definitely ruin your day. Hair manipulation. Alright, now we get to one of the most underrated parts of Jiraiya's arsenal, his hair. Let's begin with Needle Jizo, Hari Jizo. This technique turns his hair into a spiky armor that wraps around his body like a steel wool shell. Not only does it protect him from attacks, it can also be used to launch back at enemies like a porcupine missile. Great defense, great offense, and honestly, a pretty wild flex. Most people go bald when they get older. Jiraiya turned his hair into a literal weapon. But of course, he didn't stop there. He took it even further with Needle Hell, Hari Jigoku. This move is like Needle Jizo's angry older cousin. Instead of forming a shield, Jiraiya launches a barrage of hair needles in every direction. It's a straight-up chakra-fueled hairstorm. Great for crowd control, surprising enemies, or just proving that your grooming habits are deadlier than most jutsu. Also, just imagine explaining this to an enemy. How'd you get defeated? He stabbed me with hair. Yeah, that's gonna be a rough one in the bingo book. Sealing techniques. Now, we've seen Jiraiya punch through summons, rain down fire with his toads, and even weaponize his hair. But one of the most slept-on aspects of his power was his deep, borderline terrifying mastery of sealing jutsu, also known as Fuinjutsu. This is the type of ninja art that doesn't explode or burn or crush. It's way more complicated and way more dangerous. Because when you're dealing with tailed beasts, ancient jutsu, or chakra overloads, sometimes brute force just won't cut it. You need someone who understands how to manipulate chakra at the most technical level. Jiraiya was that guy. He could identify, modify, and remove complex seals mid-battle. A great example? When he lifted Orochimaru's chakra seal off Naruto's stomach. That thing wasn't just a sticker. It was a carefully crafted jutsu meant to mess with Naruto's Nine Tails chakra. But Jiraiya analyzed it instantly, knew what Orochimaru was up to, and dispelled it like it was child's play. And that brings us to one of his key techniques, 5 Elements Unseal. If someone slaps a high-level elemental seal on you, like Orochimaru did to Naruto, this is the move that breaks it. Jiraiya didn't just use it, he used it casually, proving his deep knowledge of both sealing theory and elemental balance. It's subtle, but it shows his brain was just as sharp as his kunai. Now here's a cool but underappreciated one, the chakra-suppressing seal. It only appeared in the anime, but it's still worth mentioning. This seal was used to block chakra absorption from opponents like Yoroi Akado. Essentially, it acted like an invisible shield, cutting off the chakra flow before an enemy could drain it. But nothing showcases his sealing finesse more than the finger-carving seal, or Shikoku Fuin. With his body torn apart, his throat crushed, and death breathing down his neck, Jiraiya carved a coded message into Fukasaku's back. Using chakra, no ink, no brush, just pure willpower and genius. The message revealed Pain's secret identities and saved Konoha from total annihilation. And all of it came from one final sealing move that doubled as a dying wish and a ninja memo. Legendary. Now, Jiraiya didn't stop at sealing tags and invisible scripts. He had a few tricks in the barrier ninjutsu department too. Let's talk about Toad Gourd Prison, or Kikai, Gamma Hyoro. This technique traps enemies inside the stomach of a special gourd-shaped toad. It's a mobile barrier that can be summoned anywhere, and it works fast. He used it against the animal path of Pain to isolate and finish her off. The moment she stepped inside, sealed, no way out. It's like a Pokeball, but way grosser. Then there's the probe barrier, or Keikai, Tengai Hojen. Think of this one as Jiraiya's personal radar system. It creates a spherical detection field that alerts him to any movement within its range. He used this during his infiltration of a Megakure to keep an eye on his surroundings without making a sound. It's the ultimate stealth tech combo. Hide in plain sight, but be fully aware of everything around you. These sealing and barrier techniques weren't just side skills. They were a key part of what made Jiraiya such a complete shinobi. He didn't just smash through obstacles. He outthought them, outplanned them, and sealed the deal, literally. Senjutsu. Alright, now it's time to talk about what truly elevated Jiraiya into legend tier territory, Sage Mode. This isn't just a power-up. It's a transformation that blends the user's chakra with natural energy, creating a whole new level of strength. And out of all the shinobi in history, only a tiny handful have ever mastered it. Jiraiya was one of them, but unlike Naruto, Jiraiya couldn't maintain the form on his own. He needed help from his two longtime partners, the Elder Toads, Fukasaku, and Shima. While Jiraiya handled the fighting, they sat on his shoulders, gathering natural energy and funneling it into him. It was teamwork, Toad style. Now, activating Sage Mode came with some wild perks. Jiraiya's speed and power skyrocketed. His durability turned beast level. His ninjutsu amplified across the board. The man literally leveled up in every stat, like he just ate 5 rare candies at once. But it wasn't perfect, because he hadn't fully mastered the balance between chakra and nature energy. His body changed. He grew toad-like features. His nose elongated, his eyes turned amphibious, and his hands started mutating. Honestly, he looked like he was halfway into cosplay as a Frog King. But don't let the goofy face fool you. Sage Mode Jiraiya was deadly. It's what allowed him to go up against Pain, one of the most broken characters in Naruto, and actually hold his ground. Without Sage Mode, Jiraiya wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes in that fight. With it, he figured out Pain's secret and nearly won. Sage Art, Gomen. Now, if Sage Mode is the form, then Gomen is the signature move. This insane combo attack combines Jiraiya's oil, Shima's wind, and Fukasaku's fire into one gigantic sea of flaming death. They used it against Pain, and let me tell you, it looked like the battlefield turned into a volcano. Here's how it works. Jiraiya spits out oil like a busted pipeline. Shima adds wind to spread it wide, and then Fukasaku torches the whole thing. The result? A literal lake of fire that melts through anything it touches. Gomen coordinated destruction at its finest, and it proves something critical. Jiraiya didn't just rely on raw power. He relied on synergy, strategy, timing. Sage Art, Needle Senbon. Remember Jiraiya's hair techniques? Yeah, well, now imagine them on steroids. In Sage Mode, Jiraiya took his Hari Jizo-style hair control and turned it into Needle Senbon, a ranged senjutsu barrage of high-speed hair needles. And not just a couple. We're talking thousands, launched in rapid fire like a living turret. This was precision-based destruction. Every strand was reinforced with natural energy, giving it more speed, more force, and way more damage. It wasn't just about attacking, it was about controlling the battlefield from every angle. You want close-range defense? That's Hari Jizo. You want mid-range sniping? That's Needle Senbon. Only Jiraiya could turn his shampoo routine into a war strategy. Toad Confrontation Singing. This one, peak weirdness, peak effectiveness. Toad Confrontation Singing, or Kawazunaki, is a rare sonic genjutsu cast by Fukasaku and Shima together. When they harmonize, yes, harmonize, their voices trap enemies in a genjutsu so strong, it literally paralyzes their body and mind. Jiraiya used it to catch the animal, Preta, and human paths of pain all at once. That's 3 Rinnegan users, downed instantly. And the best part, it wasn't flashy, it was classical toad opera. So if you're ever fighting giant toads and they start singing, run. Or bring earplugs. Frog Kata. And finally, Frog Kata, or Kawazu Kumite, Jiraiya's taijutsu ace in the hole. This fighting style uses the natural energy around Jiraiya's body to extend his physical strikes. So when he throws a punch, there's an invisible shockwave right behind it. Even if you block the punch, the energy still hits you. This is what made his close combat in Sage Mode so scary. He didn't need to touch you directly. The natural energy did the work for him. Imagine getting smacked by air. Now imagine that air hits like a truck. That's Frog Kata.